I found myself shooting somebody else's picture. True story.
Ukončete prosím výstup a nástup, dveře se zavírají.
I've just come back from Prague, Czech Republic, yet again. If you're not new to this channel, you heard me say this before a few times already. Prague is one of my favorite places here in Europe. It's a city I go back to multiple times a year and I know it inside out by now. I can navigate it very easily. I don't really need maps in specific areas anymore. I feel comfortable walking alone even at night. I am familiar with the neighborhoods and I know what type of vibe I can expect there. I know where crowds are gonna be, where all of the tourists are gonna be, and I know how to avoid those parts of the city. And I don't see it from the point of view of a tourist anymore. You would think that this level of familiarity would bring up some personal insight, some personal perspective, like a twist in the way that I photograph the city, and yet I keep ending up with way more touristy pictures than I care to admit. The thing is, photography has never been more accessible than today, and there's a few different reasons for that. Gear is getting cheaper and easier to use, as cheap and easy as a smartphone. And this is allowing a higher and higher number of people to getting interested in photography and start taking pictures. Social media are the main channel with which we are consuming photography, and let's face it, it's a saturated environment and pictures tend to look alike, like most of them. And also we can look at other photographers' work and really absorb it more or less consciously, because it's that easy to find. All this access to images is creating a bias style. It's conditioning our vision as artists. We are influenced without even realizing it. And on top of that, I also noticed a sort of FOMO situation. It happened a few times. I don't know if you can relate, but while scrolling through social media, I see a picture or I see an image and I want to take it. I want to take that picture for myself. I want to have my copy of that picture. This is something that I struggle to notice when I travel to new locations, to new destinations, because in that case, I really have a fresh set of eyes. I am a tourist and everything is new. I don't really have clarity of distance. But in Prague, I have this hybrid role that allowed me to observe it and analyze it and course correct it. So, how do I make my pictures mine again? Let's start with the narrative. What is the story that I want to tell with my pictures? There are really two stories that I'm normally interested in. My story, so what I felt when I took that picture. For me, photography is a cathartic experience. I use it to express and elaborate what I'm feeling. It's something that it's easier for me to do through images than through words. Some people dance, some people sing, I take pictures. So some of the content that my photographs are conveying, hopefully, is the set of emotions that were there, that I was going through while taking those photographs. The second story that I'm interested in telling is the story of those who don't have a voice. That's to say, animals, either wildlife or pets, and the environment. This is a topic that I already covered in the past on this channel, although not as in-depth and extensively as I believe it should be covered. But basically, I feel committed to taking pictures of nature and specifically of animals because they don't have the same means of communication as we have, or at least they do have them, but not to communicate with us. Everything in nature is interesting and is worthy of our attention, but it tends to go unnoticed. With photography, we have this enormous power in our hands to create a channel for nature to communicate. Second step would be to think of the technique. So how do I want to tell my story? To make sure that I reconnect with my pictures, I need to pay attention to the way that I'm shooting. So the genre, the tools that I'm using, and the aesthetics that I'm choosing. I'm a nature photographer, so I would normally go for landscape and wildlife, which I understand is not overly applicable in a city packed with people. The closest thing would be to incorporate natural elements in the shots and turn to the same tools that I would use while taking pictures in the wilderness. Is there any spontaneous vegetation around, or how are animals surviving and adapting? Basically, how is nature settling in this man-made environment? And most importantly, limiting myself to those lenses that I would normally pick while shooting in the wilderness. That's to say, a very wide-angle lens and a very long telephoto lens. So with a subject in mind and tools in my hand, I can tie everything together with my favorite aesthetic, which is a clean, simple, uncluttered composition. Having said that, let's move to the next topic, which is the editing part, so adding the final touch. To really bring my personal twist to these pictures, I'm gonna edit them the same way that I would for any other wildlife or landscape photo shooting. So going for muted colors, first of all, high contrast, and using the light to really separate the subject from the background. What I normally try to do with my editing is to remove all sorts of distractions and really focus the attention on the subject. Having a clear subject that is separated from the background and the foreground as much as possible, so that your eye naturally knows where to land while seeing the image. So, what do you think of this thought process? Do you find it relatable, or is it just me having an identity crisis? I think the bottom line here is that we as artists should not lose sight of our vision just because of the high exposure that we have to other artists' work. By all means, experimenting with new styles and colors and subjects, that's more than recommended. It's actually part of our development. Let's be aware though of where our vision ends and somebody else's starts. Let's be aware of what we like and why we like it and what made us start in the first place, so that we can maintain our identity in our own work. If you're curious to see some more street photography shots taken in Prague, I can recommend this video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you around next time. Bye!